The harsh fluorescent lights of the supermarket buzzed faintly above, reflecting off rows of colorful cereal boxes. It was just another ordinary day for most people. But for one man, a heavily tattooed biker named Ryder Kane, wearing his worn black leather vest and chain wallet, this day would carve itself into his soul forever. He had come in for coffee and a sandwich, nothing more. But what he saw in the cereal aisle froze him to the core. Down the aisle, a small girl in a pink sweatshirt was holding up her hand, 5 fingers raised straight up. Her eyes were wide, her lips trembling, and she looked directly at Ryder with a silent, desperate plea. The man beside her, who appeared to be her father, gripped her tiny hand tightly. Something in her expression didn't fit. It wasn't the look of a playful child asking for cereal. It was something else, something Ryder had seen before, fear. Before we go deeper into this story, if you believe in kindness, courage, and second chances, then please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel Kindness Corner. Your support helps us bring more true and powerful stories that show the good still left in this world. Ryder had seen a lot in his life. He had spent years running with a motorcycle club, getting into trouble, fighting the law, and losing people he cared about. He had done time for mistakes that still haunted him, but he was trying to change. He'd promised his late sister that he'd use whatever time he had left to make things right, to do good where he once did harm. And now, here he was, in a grocery aisle, a place far from the roar of bikes or the smell of asphalt, staring at a terrified little girl who just silently called for help. The signal hit him like lightning. He'd seen news stories about it. The rescue hand signal, palm open, fingers up, thumb tucked in, then closing fingers over the thumb. It was the secret sign victims used to signal for help when they couldn't speak. Ryder's heart slammed against his chest. The girl's small hand was raised just like that. He stopped in the middle of the aisle, pretending to examine a cereal box while keeping his eyes on her. The man with her, tall, muscular, with a snake tattoo winding up his arm, looked down at the girl sternly. He whispered something Ryder couldn't hear, but the girl's shoulders stiffened. The man tugged at her hand, forcing her to keep moving down the aisle. Ryder's instincts kicked in. Every nerve in his body screamed that something was wrong. He'd once lived a life ruled by instincts, the kind that told him when a fight was about to start or when to trust someone. This was that same instinct, only this time it wasn't about survival. It was about saving someone else. He started following them slowly, keeping a few steps back, pretending to browse. He noticed the man's possessive grip, too tight, too controlling. The girl's other hand fidgeted nervously at her side. Ryder's fists clenched. He didn't want to scare the child, so he softened his steps, watching carefully as the two turned toward the checkout lanes. He knew he had to do something, but one wrong move could make things worse. He'd learned enough about life to know that heroes who act without thinking sometimes make things dangerous for the people they're trying to save. At the checkout, the man bent down and muttered something in the girl's ear. She looked like she was about to cry. Ryder's heart twisted. Without hesitation, he grabbed a loaf of bread and walked toward the cashier next to them. He caught the girl's eyes again. She saw him, and for a split second, hope flickered across her face. He pulled his phone from his pocket and typed a quick message in his notes app. Little girl needs help. Possible abduction. Aisle 6. Red truck in parking lot. Then he slipped it toward the cashier along with his cash. The young cashier's eyes widened when she read it. Ryder subtly pointed toward the man with the girl. The cashier gave the smallest nod, then glanced toward her manager, who immediately picked up the phone. Ryder stepped aside, pretending to browse a rack of candy near the exit. His heart raced as he watched the scene unfold. The man with the snake tattoo seemed restless, constantly looking around. The girl was still silent, clutching a small box of cereal. Her tiny hand trembled. Moments later, 2 police officers quietly entered the store. Ryder's pulse slowed just a little. They positioned themselves near the exit, pretending to check receipts. The man didn't seem to notice at first, but when he did, his whole body tensed. Then, as the cashier tried to stall him with a fake card issue, he jerked the girl by the arm and tried to walk away fast. That was the last straw. Ryder stepped forward, his boots echoing across the tiled floor. "Hey!" he shouted, his deep voice filling the store. The man spun around, his face pale. Ryder's tattoos, leather vest, and sheer size made him look like a storm bearing down. "Let the kid go." The man's eyes darted between Ryder and the police. He tightened his grip on the girl. "Stay out of it, man," he barked. "She's my kid." Ryder took a step closer, his voice steady but fierce. "If she was your kid, she wouldn't be begging for help." The man's grip faltered. The little girl looked up, tears welling in her eyes. "He's not my daddy," she whispered, her voice barely audible but clear enough for everyone to hear. That was all it took. The police lunged forward, grabbing the man as he tried to run. The girl broke free and ran straight into Ryder's arms. He knelt, wrapping his arms around her, feeling her tiny body shake with fear. The officers cuffed the man, reading him his rights as he shouted and kicked, but no one listened. The girl clung to Ryder like a lifeline. Moments later, a woman rushed in, breathless, tears streaming down her face. "Olivia?" she cried, running toward them. The little girl turned and bolted into her mother's arms. The woman hugged her so tightly that even Ryder's hardened heart ached. The mother turned to Ryder, still trembling. "She was taken from our front yard an hour ago. I thought—" She broke down before she could finish. Ryder nodded, emotion catching in his throat. "She's safe now," he said quietly. The officers thanked him, taking his statement and confirming the suspect was indeed the kidnapper caught on nearby surveillance cameras. As the scene settled, Ryder found himself outside, leaning against his motorcycle, staring at the sky. The roar of sirens faded, replaced by the hum of a city that had no idea what had just happened inside that small grocery store. He reached into his vest pocket and pulled out a small photo. His sister and her little girl, taken years ago before the accident that took them both. He stared at it, eyes glassy. "Guess I finally did something right," he murmured. The next morning, the story hit the local news. Ex-biker saves missing girl after recognizing secret hand signal. People called him a hero, but Ryder didn't see himself that way. He'd just done what he hoped anyone else would do. A few days later, as he sat outside his small repair shop, a familiar car pulled up. Olivia and her mother stepped out, holding a box wrapped in pink paper. "We wanted to thank you," the woman said softly. Olivia ran to him and handed him the box. Inside was a small handmade bracelet with the words, "Thank you," Ryder spelled out in colored beads. He smiled, a real smile, the kind that comes from somewhere deep. "You didn't have to. We wanted to," Olivia interrupted. "You saved me." He nodded slowly, the lump in his throat too heavy for words. "You're brave, kiddo. Don't ever forget that." As they left, Ryder looked down at the bracelet, the sunlight glinting off the beads. For the first time in a long time, he felt peace. Maybe his sister had been watching. Maybe this was her way of showing him that redemption was possible, even for people like him. He started his motorcycle and rode out to the open road, wind whipping through his beard, his heart a little lighter. He wasn't riding to escape anymore. He was riding to live and to keep his promise. Sometimes heroes wear leather jackets, sometimes angels have tattoos, and sometimes all it takes to save a life is recognizing a small, silent signal from a brave little girl who refused to give up. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Every click helps spread awareness about signs of abuse and the power of compassion. You never know. Your attention could save a life. And before you go, comment below, "I believe in kindness and courage." Let's fill the world with stories that remind us there's still good out there, even in the most unexpected places.